Today, we are going to be taking a look at a deck tech. Basically, we're going to be walking through a deck and talking about it. Now, this is the Protection Wasp deck that I was running at Content Heroes, and I had so much fun about it. Got a couple of comments on the Content Heroes recap video asking for the link. I created the link. That link is also down below in the video description, but I wanted to talk through it because I think it's a really fun deck. Now, this deck is kind of meant for those higher player counts. I'm thinking 3 to 4 players, and the goal of the deck is to protect the entire table, and then also do a little bit more supporty stuff on the side. Let me tell you what I mean. So this deck, Wasp, which is, I feel like a hero that doesn't get enough love because Wasp is really fun. Wasp has the action on her alter ego side called Girl, where you can shuffle 2 cards with a printed mental resource back into your deck from your discard pile. Limit once per round. Now what this means is that we can recur some really hefty supporty cards, and that's what we're going to do. The main card that this deck is built around is Multiple Man. Now we have 3 copies of Multiple Man because Multiple Man is not a unique ally, and Multiple Man has a response that says after he enters play, search your hand and deck for a copy of Multiple Man and put Multiple Man into play, and then the second copy triggers the third. So you want to play Multiple Man when you have Multiple Men in your deck. Now you can play them when you're in your hands, but that is a resource lost. And so the perfect play is if you can get Multiple Man onto the table with 2 of them in your deck. What's great about Wasp, she can make sure that the 2 are in your deck. So if you have a copy of Multiple Man in your discard pile, shuffle it in with Girl, and then you can trigger Multiple Man to search because it does not search your discard pile. This gives you 3 blocks, and the goal of this deck is to not go to hero form that often. So Nadia is going to be sitting in alter ego form the majority of the game, which means that these blocks can protect the rest of the table. So bring them in. Since you're in alter ego, you do have to support the thwarting a little bit more than what you would probably, than the deck probably wants. But if you have a Justice player at the table, you're good. But a lot of the times I put these Multiple Men into play and then thwart 3 with them to kind of offset the fact that I'm in alter ego. Now you can't do this every single turn because Nadia can only shuffle 2 cards. And if you flip, or when you go into the villain phase, you're going to have 3 blocks and you can only shuffle 2 of them back in. Plus you've already drawn your hand for the next round. So you're not going to have a Multiple Man in your hand. Now there are a couple of ways in the deck that we can fix that, but the idea here is that Multiple Man gets in the deck. What I like to do, if I have a thin deck, I would say probably less than about 16 to 20 cards. If all 3 of my Multiple Men are in my discard pile, I'm only shuffling 1, and I'm choosing another target for my Girl ability to shuffle that in. That can pretty much guarantee, or have a higher likelihood, maybe it's only 11 to 15, is that I will draw a Multiple Man on my end of phase draw up, and then next turn I can shuffle the other 2 Multiple Men into my deck, meaning that I can play the Multiple Men and then grab 2 on the subsequent round. You don't have to shuffle all of these in at the same round. You just have to have them in your deck when you play the first copy. A couple of the other chump blockers, because we are probably only able to play these every other turn just because of how you're drawing cards before they leave play. We've got Nick Fury, who can also draw you into a Multiple Man. And I will play Nick and overplay Multiple Man sometimes when I do that. We've got Professor X, which helps with you staying down so frequently. Also a great thwarter and a blocker. And then Moon Girl. Moon Girl is another card because we're going to be in alter ego so frequently. We are the genius trait. So we've got Moon Girl here, and we can cycle probably about 3 cards, get that ally, thwart, and then block again. So these are kind of some of your off-turn plays, but Multiple Man is the one that you want to play as many times as you want. Now, these are all mental resources, meaning that you can shuffle them back in with Girl. We also have Iron Fist. Iron Fist is another card that is not a mental resource, but it is a card that can stop 3 activations or 3 attacks of the villain, albeit a little bit slower than Multiple Man because he can stun, but he's also throwing out some pretty decent damage there. So Iron Fist is in here for a stun. If you have a stalwart villain, cut Iron Fist. We're actually running at 42 cards. And so anything that, I would probably still keep Professor X even with stalwart villains, but anything with stalwart, probably cut Iron Fist out of there. So these are the blocker lineups. That's the majority, or that's the main focus of the deck, I should say, is look at trying to get these blockers out and protect the table the entire game. So you can let the other players at the table do what they do and what they want to do and not have to worry about taking damage. Now, that's not the only thing that this deck is doing. We also have some minion control. So we have Iceman. So Iceman enters play with some freeze counters. And in a 4-player game, and especially with those higher minion scenarios, you're going to be able to deplete the freeze counters on Iceman pretty quickly, meaning that you can, get him out, stun the minions, and give just a little bit more time for the table to prepare and deal with the minions. But again, the lifetime of allies in this deck on the table is probably not more than 2 turns. And so we want to use Iceman as quickly as possible, get those freeze counters off so that we can play multiple man, because we only have 3 ally slots. There's not a way to open up the ally slots in this deck, unfortunately. So Iceman is a way to deal with minions. We've also got Karma. Karma is a way to deal with some minions because you're going to take control of the minions, and then you get Karma is fantastic because you get a activation with that minion, a chump block with a minion, and a chump block with Karma. And so while Karma blocks 2 attacks, multiple mana blocks 3, Karma is still very, very high value if you can get that trigger off of grabbing a minion. So these are minions, minion control, and then this is a sideboard card. So this is not in the actual published deck list on CDB, but if you are running in a super high minion scenario, I'm thinking of like Mutagen Formula or Zola or something like that, we're going to drop in Pinned Down. Now, the wanting to stay at 40 cards, I think, is important. However, since we're in Alter Ego so much with this deck, we're actually, we're drawing 6 instead of 5 cards. And so running 42 cards is not as big of a detriment as it would be for heroes that want to flip and are drawing less cards. So we're seeing more cards, meaning that we can add more cards and still have the statistical likelihood of drawing into some of our more high impact cards because we're drawing an extra card every turn. So Pinned Down does not go in the deck unless we're running against something with some really nasty minions in it. Now, we cannot protect every single attack, right? We got multiple man, we got these blockers, we've protecting with our allies, but there are going to be assaults. There are going to be turns where we cannot play multiple blockers. People are going to take hits, and that's where the healing side of this deck comes in. Now, we got a couple of ways of healing. The first one being Second Wind. So Second Wind is a 3-cost card, and it's an action, so you can play it in Alter Ego form. You don't have to be in hero form. 3-cost card to heal 4 damage from an identity, or 5 damage instead if you paid for this with a mental resource. The majority of the cards in this deck are mental resources, so there's a good chance you're going to get that kicker. Plus, there's also a little resource generator that's going to help us get that kicker as well. So Second Wind will heal 5 damage, and so you can tell your players, your teammates at the table, don't really worry about health. I got blockers and I've got healing in the deck. This is what we're going with. Now, I actually did not run Second Wind at Con Heroes. This is an alteration of the deck that I ran at Con Heroes. But Boom Guy from Winning Hand suggested running Second Wind in there, and I really like this change. We have also got Night Nurse, which is minimal healing. It's 1 heal, but it is mainly there to clear status tokens from other players. So if you have Wolverine that's throwing damage and all of a sudden he gets stunned in the villain phase, Night Nurse, you can call on the action to clear that stun so Wolverine can go crazy. We got Render Medical Aid, which is more healing. This is one of those that, depending on the game state, if you have a cable player at the table or someone who is throwing out a ton of player side schemes, you may want to pass on this. But it is a mental, so you can recur it whenever you need it. But this is going to be one of those that you throw out and you kind of leave until it's needed. Because this is a deck kind of geared towards 3 to 4 players, you can have 2 player side schemes on the table. So just check with the table and make sure that you're okay taking this slot so that whenever you need it, you have the healing of 5. This also works for allies, which is pretty cool. And so we are going to talk about our med teams now. Now, med teams, you can exhaust med team, heal 2 damage from a character. Most of the time, this deck has enough healing and blockers so that you don't have to target your heroes or your allies. I'm sorry, your heroes the other characters at the table. You don't have to target the other heroes at the table. What this is in here for is to keep allies around. So if you have a leadership player who's running heavy Voltron, aggression with boot camps, and you want those high cost allies to stay around, Med Team is going to be around to heal those allies. And again, it's an action. Call on it, use it before your turn so that you're not losing your allies to consequential damage. The idea is you're going to have enough chump blockers so your teammates don't have to use their allies as chump blockers. They can keep them around, and you can keep them around even longer if you want to with the Med Team. We also have a established perimeter. So this is kind of healing. It's going to pass out tough statuses to all of the characters or all of the heroes. So this is going to help with just more blocking. Again, you want the rest of the table to not worry about villain attacks and most of the minion attacks as well. And then the final thing in the healing portion of the deck is crew quarters. Since you're going to be an alter ego the entire time, anybody who comes and visits you down in alter ego, you can trigger crew quarters to heal them once on their trip down and once on their trip back up. So there should be enough healing in here, unless you're playing someone who's throwing insane amounts of damage at you. You've got a lot of healing, you've got a lot of jump blockers, you should be able to protect the table and let the other players at the table do what they do best. There's also other ways that you can help the other players do what they want to do. That comes in the form of resource generators that you can pass out. So we have Avengers Mansion, which is a 4-cost card. We can exhaust it to choose a player, the player draws a card. A lot of the times you're going to want to be targeting another player with this card. We're going to be able to play a lot of cards, and there's another little secret in this deck that's going to help enable that. And so Avengers Mansion can help us give cards to other players. That is also true with Helicarrier, and so Helicarrier reduces the next card that a player plays by 1. Sometimes you will have to be selfish and take these, and if this gets you a multiple man, if hey, like I can draw into a multiple man. I actually had a game at Con of Heroes where multiple man was the last card in my deck. So I had one card, I knew it was multiple man, the other 2 were in my discard pile. So it's like, I'm going to take the mansion, I'm going to draw the multiple man, shuffles my discard pile. Now the other 2 copies of multiple man are in my deck, so I can play this and get the multiple man back out and rolling. So there are some times where you want to be a little selfish and take this, but the majority of the time you're going to want to pass these out to enable the other characters to do what they want to do. The last resource generator in here is for us. That's Ingenuity. So Ingenuity we can play because we're genius traded on our alter ego. We can generate a mental resource that's going to be able to hit our kickers for second wind. It's also just going to be able to give us those effectively 7 resources to deal with every single round, which is pretty sweet. So Ingenuity is a mental resource. Avengers Mansion is a mental resource. And I will pass on Avengers Mansion pretty frequently. When I have to play it and dump my entire hand into Mansion, it's typically not worth it. If I have a double, if I have this next card that I'm going to talk about, we'll just bring it out, Meditation, then it's a really cheap way to get Avengers Mansion onto the table, but it is a mental resource. So if I am going to be dumping 4 out of the 6 cards in my hand to play Mansion, I'm probably just going to use Mansion as a resource. And then on a future turn, when I can set it up with the girl ability to get a Meditation or a Genius with Mansion in my hand, that's going to be a little bit better for me, or a little bit better for the Wasp player, because then you can do a couple of other things elsewhere on your turn. But this is the last card that, or the last kind of exciting card. I guess we have Power Protections and the doubles, and that is the Wasp deck. But let's talk about Meditation, because the deck revolves a lot around Meditation. Meditation, you exhaust your alter ego action, you can play a card reducing its resource cost by 3. A couple of fun interactions here. One, is going to get multiple men out really easily. You don't want to use it on Moon Girl. It can get second winds out. It can get Helicarriers, Mansions. You can get a lot of these cards out really easily, but really I'm focusing it on the allies, not you, Moon Girl, because Moon Girl wants to be paid for with mental resources. Since we're going to be an alter ego the entire game, or probably 95% of the game, our basic activation does nothing for us, because a lot of the times we're not taking hits. If we are taking hits, then we can use our basic recovery to heal, but there was never really a game where I was like, oh, I'm in trouble now. And so Meditation can be used to actually give our activation a use as a resource generator. Meditation is also mental. And so when I was talking about shuffling one copy of Multiple Man in, so I can guarantee that I'm only drawing one earlier in the video, I will usually either shuffle a Multiple Man and a Meditation on that first turn, hoping to draw into a Multiple Man and or a Meditation, and then shuffle the other two in on that on the following turn. So if I can set it up, and it's actually pretty consistent how easily you can set up Meditation with another high cost target for Meditation to pay for. It's pretty easy to do. The other option would be to shuffle Genius back in. That's also a really good option for us there. So this is the deck. I actually don't think I have a name for it. I think I just call it Wasp Support. But it's really fun. There are going to be a couple of times where you're going to have to flip up. If you have a villain that comes out swinging really hard and you're not able to keep up with the villain attacking you early, you can flip up. I usually go to giant form here, mainly because you have a little bit more use out of your thwart and attack, and if you do need to defend, you can. But if everyone's coming down, you can flip up. You're going to be drawing one less card, but you'll flip right back down. So you're never going to lose an activation of Girl. And if you have a Meditation or something that requires your basic activation, you will be able to hit that. But because we have 11 health, we have a lot of the times we're not using a basic activation. If we have to flip up, take a hit, and then just slowly heal yourself over the course of the next couple times. So when I say like be in Alter Ego 95% of the game, it's a support deck. So if you can figure out a way where if you flip up and you can take a hit and allow someone else to flip down, that's the goal, right? Like the goal is to make sure that other players don't have to worry about damage, and flipping up, taking a hit can be a way that we do that. So that is the Wasp Support deck. I'm very happy with this. I loved it. It was so much fun. I love playing support, and so playing this Iconic Heroes was just so very much fun. Let me know if you play this deck. Now the deck link is down below in the video description, so let me know if you try it out. I would love to hear if you like it, any modifications you would make. I'm here for it because this is my favorite kind of way to play the game, and I love to hear how people can improve on it or if they are enjoying it. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you next time. Peace.